Over 150 people have registered. I think it's one of the largest events we've had in a very, very long time. So I want to thank SAP for creating this program. This really shows that entrepreneurship is alive in the Valley. If you get it right, you will get the audience here. So. My name is Deepak Bhagat. I'm on the board of TiE Silicon Valley. On behalf of TiE as well as on behalf of SAP, I would like to welcome all of you. I know that today is a work day and you took time off early to get here. I think it's an exciting program that we have put together. How many of you are here for the first time in the TiE organization? Oh, great. So I think what I'm going to do is give a 5-minute pitch on what TiE is all about. I think it's a great organization. I've been engaged with it for over 16 years now. It's a 20-year-old organization which started out in Silicon Valley with only one focus: to foster entrepreneurship. And over a period of 20 years or so, we have grown over to 61 chapters in 17 countries. Each chapter is run independently to cater to the needs of the entrepreneurs in the local area. Silicon Valley is still considered to be, at least we believe that it's still one of the leaders amongst all the chapters, even though some may not want to believe in it. So, basically we focus on entrepreneurs and VCs. What we want to do it is have entrepreneurs start companies and become successful, because we believe that is good for the economy, that is good for everyone in the Valley as well as for the world. And we create workshops, we create seminars to inspire, educate, prepare, mentor, and lately we have started to fund entrepreneurs also. I'm also going to talk about some of the new programs that we have launched in the last 3 years or so. They all are focused around entrepreneurship. So in terms of, we have two classes of members. One is the charter member that we call it. They are the accomplished entrepreneurs, VCs, corporate executives, as well as serial entrepreneurs. And that is done through a process of nomination and a rigorous vetting process. All over the world, we have 2,500 charter members, and they form the backbone of the organization. The time they spend on TiE is all volunteer driven. In addition to that, they pay a lot of money to be a member of it. I'm one of the charter members. I became a charter member in '96 after I successfully released Sun's 64-bit computing platform in '96 or so. So I was invited to become a charter member, and I've been playing significant roles over a period of time. In addition to that, we also have regular members who are entrepreneurs, technology professionals, and service providers. And on the right-hand side, you see some of the people who have been part of helping build the Silicon Valley TiE organization over a period of last 20 years or so. We have sponsors. We are funded by various organizations, corporations, VCs, service providers, etc. And we have a nominal fee for just $150. You can become a member, and you get all these events for free. In addition to that, you also get a discount if you sign up for our key event every year, which is called TiECon, which is scheduled every May in Santa Clara at the Convention Center next door. So these are some of the accomplishments. Just focusing on TiE Silicon Valley, over 25,000 participants have attended the TiE programs. We have, TiECon has hosted over 10,000 attendees in past 3 years. On average, every year we get about 3,000 to 4,000 attendees. And next month we have it on 17th and 18th. And this year it's a great program, and I'll spend a couple of minutes talking about that. And we have been declared as, TiECon has been declared as one of the top 10 conferences for ideas and entrepreneurship in the world. In terms of the reach, as you can see the numbers are pretty large here. And the coverage, we have been covered in pretty much every top leading journal in the world. These are the key technology sectors that we focus on. Big data, mobile, it keeps on changing by the way. Mobile, cloud and infrastructure, energy and life sciences. This year in TiECon, we are focusing on the right side of the three verticals. The big data, we have a special track, 5.5 hour long track on May 17th. The second track, parallel track, is on mobile. And the third track is what we are calling it the software-defined infrastructure. There's a new trend in the industry where everything is defined by software, whether it's your networking, whether it's your storage, or whether it's your compute itself. And we have lined up some of the industry leaders to come and speak on that day, on May the 17th, which is Friday. And on May 18th, which is the second day of the TiECon, we have sessions which are horizontal in nature, which teach you how to set up a company, how to finance it, how to do go-to-market, etc., which are applicable to all the verticals. So I strongly recommend that you look into the website tiecon.org. And right now the rates are still low, but I think beginning May 1st they're going to go up significantly. And we expect about 3,000 people to sign up. So these are some of the new programs that we have started. We have started to add more value to our entrepreneurs. In 2010, some of us started TiE Angels. I'm one of the founding members of that. And what we do is every month about 15 to 20 companies apply with their business plans through an online portal called gust.org, I think, or dust.org, yeah. And they go through 2 stages of very rigorous screening process. And out of 15 to 20 companies, we pick 3 of them, and 3 of them present their business plans to investors, about 70 to 80 of them, on the third Monday of each month. And depending upon the interest on each company, we form a small team, and the due diligence team gets formed, and they spend about a month or so going over the business plan, looking at technology architecture, because I think architecture and technology and viability and sustenance is more important than the business plan itself. And then after that, a decision is made whether the investors want to invest in it or not. Anybody can be an investor. If you are allowed by the US law to be an investor, you can also join this program, and we expect that you will invest a minimum of $25,000 per year. And in that case, you directly invest in the company directly. You don't go through any fund, etc. And this way also, you gain experience in evaluating companies, and if the companies like you, you can become their advisors also, and maybe join some leadership position there as well. We also announced a TiE incubator program. That area out there, we have about 25 desks out there, which we are leasing it out to the startups at the rate of, I think it's 250 per month, correct?
Yes.
That's right. And we did a prototype last year with our favorite entrepreneur, Sanjay Mittal. I don't know whether he's here. Anyway, he was the founder of Selectica, a company, and took it public and made it a multi-billion-dollar company. And then he started a company called Spotzot, and he was the first resident of our incubator program. We funded it through the TiE Angels program, and then now it has grown. It has raised Series A funding, and they moved into the tech market, which is next to the Hyatt organization. So I think if you know of any startups which are looking for a space, it is not just the space, you get connection to all the networks of charter members and advice and mentorship, etc. This is a much better value proposition than you will get anywhere, including plug and play. TiE Launchpad program, what we realized was that the TiE Angels companies which were getting funded were the ones which were a little bit more advanced in the development phase. And they were needing $300,000 to $500,000 funding. We said, why don't we create some kind of a fund to give $50,000 to each company with a brilliant idea. So that TiE Launchpad program is going to get started very, very soon. So you will see, you can also become a part of that fund. I think the commitment is about $100,000 over a period of 4 years or so. And you can also become part of review of the companies, etc., and invest in a company that you feel part of it. The fourth program is something which is very favorite to me, and this year I said, we need to. The companies are built on top of various platforms, whether it's Windows, whether it's Solaris, or whether it is Oracle, etc., etc. So we need to identify 3 companies in the valley whose platforms we want to partner with and evangelize and sort of help incubate the companies around those. And I think I'm pleased to announce that SAP is #1 in that list. And we still have to find 2 more companies. So if you have any recommendations, which platforms we should partner with, do let me know, send me an email. And I think today is the first proof of concept of that program, and I'm glad to see that we have over 150 people who have registered here. I was expecting about 60 to 70 people, so thank you, SAP. So our annual sponsors are all the leading companies, including SAP and KPMG, HP, IBM, etc., etc. The list is pretty long. And Ramesh Krishnan, who's standing there in the suit, he's our head of the business development. So if you have any money to sponsor, reach out to him. And you get a lot of benefits, by the way, with it. So that was about the TiE organization. Again, you can become a member by paying $150, but TiECon is a great opportunity. Starting 1st of May, the rates are going to go up. And we are getting deeper and deeper into various verticals, and I think you cannot find class of so many leading executives in one place, an opportunity to network. So please log on to tiecon.org. So SAP Startup event, I think this picture showed up in the February 21st issue of Business Week. SAP speeds up with HANA. I think it talks about where the various database technologies are, and as you can see, the HANA is beyond the chart. And this sort of was sort of caught the summary of where SAP HANA stands for. I've been in the industry for over 30 years or so, and I've been part of building many platforms, and I know that every decade there are 2 or 3 technologies which sort of rise above the rest of other technologies, and they transform the industry. When I was with Hewlett-Packard in the 80s, you know, the workstations came out around Unix platform. Unix was the new industry. Desktop computing was the other one. RISC architectures were the other ones. And they sort of transformed the whole mini computer and the desktop market. In the 90s, I was with Sun Microsystem, and the Java was again the enabler for creation of many companies and enterprise class applications. And that had an impact on the infrastructure design and the blade server design and the fabric design. Also, the NFS came out of Java itself, which created NetApp classes of companies. I think the last decade was all about Facebook and Google. Their platforms are different in nature. They're consumer-oriented, and you have hundreds of millions of users of those ones. But I think this year, I predict that HANA is going to be one of those key technologies that is going to transform the industry. I got exposed to HANA last year in February. I was consulting with Huawei Innovation Center, and they had brought me in to help seed their computing platform, and they said, how can they get into the computing industry? And I said, listen to me, I've been doing that for 30 years. The only way you can get into a computing industry is if there's a new wave of workload. If there's a new workload, that's an opportunity for you to create an optimized architecture and introduce a platform and beat other companies out there. So they said, why don't you find out what those workloads are? So I started to go into the Google and do research, etc. And big data was the one that I came up with. So I started to research on Hadoop, and accidentally I found HANA. I liked the name, first of all. And I started to read more and more about it, and I was convinced, because it is right in the heart of what my area of specialization is, which is system software and infrastructure software. I said, this company is going to this technology is going to transform the industry. So after my consulting was over, I heard that one of my ex-bosses, EVP of Exxon, Clark Master, had joined SAP. So I reached out to him, and within a month I joined SAP. So I've been with SAP for 3 months now. This week I complete 3 months. I'm very excited about it. I think it is causing transformation, not only at the application level, which the startup people are going to talk about it, but I'm more excited about the changes it is causing at the infrastructure level, all the way from processes to memory hierarchies to storage subsystem to the management software itself. And I think Andy Bechtolsheim, I don't know how many of you know Andy Bechtolsheim, he's the smartest guy on this planet Earth actually, and I've worked with him for 3 years. And he said this is the second coming of the entire computing stack, all the way from the lowest level of the architecture to the application level. And he said this wave is going to last for the next 15 to 20 years. And that's why I felt very strongly that we need to bring SAP to TiE, because TiE is all about entrepreneurship. So with that in mind, I would like to introduce the team here. As we have extensive set of speakers here. Ron, He's going to talk about global startup recruiting program, SAP Ventures. Anders? Do we have Anders? Okay. Introduction to HANA, including HANA 1, Mayank Mathur. He's over there. Startup company pitches. I think we decided to add a new flavor last night. We sent an email out to all of you to see if you want to pitch your company, 2-minute pitches. And I believe they have about 7 companies or 6 companies, so you'll get to hear about them. And going to market program with Robert. Okay, he's here. And Sophie Chow is running the Global Director Startup Forum program. So with that, I'll hand it over to Ron. Ron?
We're going to tag team today. Take each other up and make sure that we make it through.
Great. So we're just delighted to be here. Thank you so much for spending the evening with us. We've actually had an opportunity to, again, thanks to Raj and Deepak and the rest of the team here, we're very looking forward to, in fact, interact with some of you who might be interested in the program, learning more about the technology. And so this evening, just wanted to show of hands, who's already within this big data, predictive analytics space, or in need of real-time decision making. Okay, so this is the right crowd, definitely. Okay, so with that in mind, I just wanted to again introduce you to Ron. Who's leading our recruitment efforts for the Startup Focus program. And with that,
I'm going to do just one slide, and we'll probably end up doing more than that, to be honest. But let's start by doing something. I like to do this. My friends have seen me do this a number of times. Take your hands and clasp them. I'm going to stand in front of the mic.
go for it.
Okay, you clasp your hands. Now, I want you to change it and put the thumb in the other position. That's just not right, right? That's just not right. That's called change. And change is something that just isn't right. And I'll tell you what, for 40 years, SAP has been building software for the back office. We've been incredibly successful at that, and we love doing it, by the way. But what we have not been good at is being sensitive, in all honesty, to entrepreneurs. The only way we related to entrepreneurs was if you built something that looked really cool and worked really well with SAP, SAP would buy you and then kind of mess it up. But never mind. But that has been the relationship of SAP to entrepreneurs. But this is a new SAP. Vishal Sikka, our executive board member and CTO, has this statement to make, and it's really true. After 40 years, we've come to the realization that we don't have all the answers, we don't have all the imagination. That's happening in the collective imagination of every one of us. And so when we're able to do that, all of a sudden, things start to change. And I loved what Deepak shared. I said, I get kind of inspired, like, wow, I worked for that company with Deepak. That we have a platform that can make a difference at every level. The level of the smallest startup, 2 people with a really good idea, and what they can do on HANA, all the way to Ford Motor or Citibank or Burberry or whoever, and what they're doing with HANA. And together, actually tonight, we're going to talk about entrepreneurs and startups. Sophie, that was longer than you thought.
No problem. And so this the journey for startups really start with this evening. You're attending an exclusive startup forum that we've pulled together for the TiE organization. And we've been hosting these in collaboration with many incubators, accelerators around the world. So it's really a great pleasure to be able to do this right here locally and not have to travel for that. So the first step of the program is to attend one of these forums, and you'll have a chance to, in fact, throughout the duration of today, this evening, an opportunity to learn about the program, the technology, and how to go to market with SAP. And we actually consider these to be qualifying events because we want to make sure that you understand what's involved in order to make an informed decision. Because we realize that as entrepreneurs, and especially as startups, your time is very valuable, your resources are very tight, and we really want to make sure that it's the right fit at the end of the day. Okay. Then the second major stage of the program is the technical aspect, the development accelerator phase. Okay. And this is where our resources, our senior consultants, and the great folks who are knowledgeable in the HANA, on the SAP HANA platform, will be able to guide you and in fact, support you as part of this journey to develop on top of the HANA platform. And then the third component of this is to go to market, right? And you'll hear more about it once again with some of my colleagues here between Robert and Deepak. There's some great opportunities that we're very proud to have pulled together just for the startups within the program. Okay. So just to step back a little bit, the program itself, in fact, is not even a full year old. We haven't had our first birthday yet, first anniversary, I should say. We literally have gone around the world in a matter of just a few months. Last year, started off with 10 startups that we showcased at Sapphire Orlando. And by the end of the year, we ended up with 153 officially within the program. We had interacted with 800 plus around the world. And it's been a very exciting journey because we've seen all sorts of business models, from B2B to B2C to B2E, enterprise, machine-to-machine use cases as well. And over 60% of the use cases actually lie outside of even SAP's traditional realm and fields of expertise and domains of expertise. So it's been very exciting to see this energy and innovation, entrepreneurship from all corners of the world, between, as you can see, Berlin to Paris to, in fact, recently we're in Brazil in Latin America. And in 2013, we're also going to brand new markets. So very, you're part of the global network, just so you know. And then here's a quick glance at some of the active startups that are in the program. Is that about 100? It's a lot to squeeze into one slide, as you can imagine. And again, this is a very interesting cross-section of startups that we've seen from EMEA all the way to North America, APJ. And this is just an idea of the kinds of areas of focus that we've seen, from energy management to social media collaboration that we noticed quite a lot here in Silicon Valley, but also around geospatial and 3D analysis, financial services, you name it. And we've been able to, once again, showcase them at some of our major events, which you'll hear about more during the go-to-market phase, as well as at non-SAP events, so that it's really important for us that your success goes beyond just the program itself, but wherever we can. Just at a very high level here, we've got...
Join you up here?
Sure, why not?
We're going to do a little give and take here. So I was trying to think, so if you would, maybe you can help me out. I've got a startup. We just got a little bit of seed funding. What's in it for me? Because I'd like to know what's in it for me to get in this HANA startup focus program thing.
So with the startup focus program team, the program itself. You are not only having access to the technology, and now it's really up to your imagination, how you can go about developing and taking advantage of this platform. Then... So how... Well, then, I'm going to interrupt you, sorry. How hard is it to get in? I mean, I don't have a lot of extra resources. What do I have to do to actually get in and get to this value you're talking about? So part of today's session is to walk you through this. But also the very next step right after this would be to in fact explore some of the technical resources through our learning portal, so that all folks who are a part of this session today will be invited to take a look at that. We'll also have one of our team members who can walk you through a lot of the content, because we realize that you may have questions. Then the major next step would be to in fact describe to us what kind of use case or a HANA solution description. Where do you identify potential use cases for HANA within your business, and how do you think that could impact your customers, your business, and solve bigger challenges?
That sounds pretty good. I guess you got a lot of questions I'd have in my head, but one of the questions I say, well, how much does it cost anything? This sounds too good to be true.
From SAP?
So SAP probably has some costs, but I don't have to pay SAP.
No, this is not the type of partner program that we wanted startups to have to deal with. In that sense, we decided to create a program that would be at no cost, providing the platform for development during the development stage at no cost, except for maybe AWS, Amazon Web Services, infrastructure costs, and those are fairly minimal. But for a full 12-month period, wow, that's a long period of time. That's a long investment for SAP. For a 12-month period of time, the HANA license would be available to you for you to be able to once again, get to that go-to-market phase, being able to start selling and find success stories.
And so all this with no impact on my cap table.
We're not trying to acquire you.
No equity, nothing like
equity.
That. Okay. Well, thanks, Sophie. I can't wait to hear the rest of it.
Come back here.
Well, am I done? I'm not done?
No, you're not
Oh,
done.
okay, I thought I was done. Sophie is our VC for the night. We get to flip a coin, and she got the heads. I don't know. You're up.
I just wanted to mention that SAP Ventures and SAP are two separate entities, but we'll go through, again, the connection with the Startup Focus program. So, as I mentioned, no two separate entities, and just a little bit of background about SAP Ventures. They were established back in 1997 and have traditionally been investing in growth companies. That's where all of their history has come from. In fact, on the right-hand side, right, you've got a nice snapshot of some of the companies within the portfolio, and they've invested over $400 million to date. Given the introduction of SAP HANA and being the most successful product launch in SAP's history, the Ventures team decided to create a real-time HANA fund of $155 million late last year. And so there's two components to the fund. And on the left-hand side is the fund of fund, because traditionally, as I mentioned, they have been investing in more mature companies and really want to solicit the entire venture ecosystem globally to help us find these kinds of interesting startups within the big data space. And on the right-hand side, you've got the HANA Investment Fund, and that's where SAP Ventures will actually invest directly in select companies, primarily the ones that are obviously bringing disruptive applications to the marketplace. The funding currently goes at around $500,000 to start off with, and we actually have one of our program members that was just awarded funding earlier this year, name of Fidzai, within the financial services industry, and it's been actually quite exciting for them. They were originally found in Dublin, Ireland, even though they're based in Portugal, and so we've been able to see a very interesting success for them, and they have been able to, in fact, expand and come to have a presence here in Northern California. So we've got a long very strong team of partners. But if you have any questions, because each one of your startup has very unique scenarios, realize that. The contact person that you can connect with is Anders Ranum. And if you wish to be in touch with him, just come and find me after this and we'll put you in touch with him. Now, in terms of the Startup Focus program, what we make sure of is that as we get to learn more about the folks within the program, we in fact make introductions and recommendations to the ventures team to make sure that you have the opportunity to discuss your venture needs in more details. All right, and with that, we're going to move on to the HANA 101 introduction, and I'd like to bring Mayank on stage here.
Hey guys, my name is Mayank Mathur, and I joined SAP in 2001. I came to SAP by the acquisition of a startup here in the Bay Area, and prior to that, I was already in the SAP world, working for one of the Indian consulting companies. So. Before I get started, a big thank you to Raj and Deepak for helping us organize this. I was here at an impromptu event about a few weeks ago while I was at Strata conference, and there was a smaller audience here in a meetup format, and there they were talking about HANA, and I was there with a bunch of other colleagues. We talked about this Strata Focus program and how HANA is part of it and how startup companies can leverage it. And there were just about 4 or 5 startups in the room that day, and almost all of them showed up next week in our virtual forums that we have, and they're all part of the program. So that's when we realized, hey, we should do this on a larger scale, and this is what it has led to. So with that, thank you, Raj, thank you, Deepak, and the TiE folks. So guys, quickly, what's the scope for the discussion today? We have less than 30 minutes, and this is not a HANA training session. And what we're trying to do, what I'll try and do is go through a bunch of slides to showcase to you what exactly is the fuss about, why really this HANA thing is different, and mainly what you can take away tonight as to why this is such an important and a new platform from SAP. So let me switch back here. So let's just start. Take a step back. How many here in the room consider themselves non-SAP guys? So you've heard about SAP, but that's about it. You've not worked with the technology, you don't really know. You don't know much about it, so okay, that's great. That is great. So let's take a quick step back and see where we are coming from. I have, like I said, been 13 years now at SAP, and primarily from an applications development background. For the past 10 years, I've been in different application development groups. And the last year and a half, ever since HANA came up, I've been working with our PCN, the Premier Network customers, who are the early adopters of HANA. And these are the guys like the ExxonMobils and the Walmarts and the Colgates and the Coca-Colas. SAP is the top 100 customers who have implemented HANA on a huge scale, and I was part of the team that was supporting these customers go live and post-implementation support and those kind of things, and that's why it's important to step back to see where we are coming from. If you look at this slide, this has been the story of SAP so far. For most of us who have been with SAP, the story started somewhere around the R2, R3 days. Since then, MySAP.com was introduced in the mid-2004-2008 timeframe. We had SAP NetWeaver introduced, and the service-oriented architecture, XApps. Anybody remembers XApps? I was part of the team that built the first XApps on so-called Composite Applications Framework, and that was initially the idea: build a technology stack, build composite applications on top, leveraging the SAP underlying layer, and and with the help of the ecosystem, build more and more applications. That was the idea. And hence, a zillion of the SAP's partners and the so-called startups of the 2004-2000 timeframe came on board and said, okay, on the NetWeaver platform, we will build our X app, and whatever that app could be. And that was the story during that time frame. After that, the Business Suite 7.0 was introduced, on which the classic and the traditional ERP, CRM, PLMs were based. And then the question was, okay, now what, right? So the transition now, between then and now, is this. And that's where the overall direction of the company is. You might have heard about announcements about the suite on HANA. We have the entire suite now available and running on HANA. This is huge. This has been SAP's biggest announcement this year so far. On top of that, the SAP on HANA, the RTDP here stands for Real-Time Data Platform. The whole idea is to expose HANA as a platform. And that's what I hope you take away from today is during the slide, we focused on two main areas. One is HANA as a database, and the second is HANA as a platform to build applications. And with that, we'll step, again, a small, the story so far is most of our guys who are application developers, we were taught, don't worry about the database. Build your application, don't worry about the underlying database. And that was the architecture of the so-called three-tier architecture. Most of us grew up and built applications and worked all our lives on that theory. And we build applications not bothering about what a database is. So for the longest time, I had no clue what my underlying database is. I didn't care. The application didn't need to know much about it. That's the change that is now occurring, and now everything is in a reverse format. We'll see a slide about that. Okay, that was the story so far. What is SAP HANA? Where did it come from? It was not invented overnight. This is the story so far. As it was also called as Hassos DB. There were some SAP ingredients already available. MaxDB, a technology, a database from SAP. It was a homegrown database. Not sure if all of you know that, but most of the SAP internal applications and systems would run on MaxDB. We just never so-called sold it commercially. BWA is the BWA accelerator, which was built on top of BW, the traditional SAP's data warehouse. LifeCache, another SAP technology. P-Time is the IP that was acquired from a Korean company that did the row store, column store technology, and that is one of the key ingredients of HANA. So all of these things together were the so-called building blocks of HANA. One thing that is missing here is also the T-Rex engine. From guys who are familiar from the SAP world, you had the SAP stack, you had BW, and you had something called a text and retrieval engine, which was SAP's index-based search engine. And that is, again, a very core technological component within HANA. Okay. Like I said, MaxDB, LifeCache, BWA, P-Time, those are these are the key ingredients that make up HANA. Okay. So from a little background and the ingredients as to where we are today. Like SAP was HANA was launched just about under 2 years now. A couple of these are marketing slides, but that's the reality. We have about 1,000 plus large enterprises on it. The key number here is 200 plus startups are using HANA actively. Most of them are part of our program. So it is doing pretty well outside in the established world, in the SAP ecosystem, but it is also doing great outside the SAP ecosystem. That's the message here. Okay. What's the soul fast? Like I said, about a month ago or so, we had the Strata conference right next door, and we were there along with all the big data players. And the key story over there was, why is this significant in the market today? And again, this is the big data picture about volume, velocity, and variety. It is about the data that we encounter in our lives today in the enterprise world and outside the enterprise world, wherein volume, obviously, as the name suggests, is just the amount of data that's out there. The velocity is about how frequently it is changing, and the variety here is the different formats that this data now is coming from, mobile devices and different sources. So the essence here is that how are we capturing all this data, and how HANA can take this in the form of structured and unstructured data, and applications can use this data to build the next generation of applications. So that's the whole big data play that HANA is a part of. What makes HANA special? This slide here is talking about the concept of the appliance, and HANA was originally positioned as an appliance. An appliance is a combination of hardware and software. And most of you might know that in the last few years, this great advancement in hardware and the capabilities of the hardware combined with software is what's is changing the landscape. So now the key ingredients here are the availability of the multi-core architecture, massive parallel processing, the ability we just bought a system of 2 terabytes, which holds 2 terabytes in memory, and all of this is affordable. That's the bottom line. And you combine that with the software part, with technology specifically like column store and compression and scale out. And now you see that what we saw in the previous slide about this big data, all of this now makes sense that big data can now be leveraged on a box which is running this kind of hardware in which the compression ratios are about 8 to 10x, and all that data can be compressed. And with that, what you get is high scan speeds, which results in applications using that data to be faster and faster. That's the message. Hasso, our co-founder, opens most of his keynotes by opening he shows the cell phones to the audience and says that if I don't get a response in 3 or less than 5 seconds, this stuff is useless. And what he's trying to say is that in today's world, if you don't get a response in under 5 seconds for anything, you lose the context. And HANA is all about fast. And that's the point here. Okay. All right. What is HANA as a platform? The message here is you are using this as an appliance for processing high volumes of transactional data. In the next few slides, we will see what the difference is, and it supports both OLAP and OLTP. It includes tools for data modeling and all the other fancy stuff where you build your content on. And it provides support for multiple industry standards. From your perspective, from startups' perspective, they are all asking, so what can we do with this? What are the kind of applications that we build? So in our Startup Focus program, we actually have these categories. So you could kind of see yourselves falling in one of these categories. So you could either be a player in the big data space. Most of the startups are either in the big data space, or you have some kind of predictive analytics or analytical based applications or solutions, or you are in the so-called sense and respond applications where you input something in a financial kind of an organizations and you need fast response times, which is the so-called real-time aspect of the picture. So the business value from SAP HANA for startups building applications on top of HANA would pretty much fall in one of these areas. The power of in-memory. There are a bunch of these technical slides. I'll not bore you with most of the technical details, but again, the idea here is to get down to a level where you kind of understand what HANA is about at a technical level. And again, two things in mind. This is a database and an application platform, and that's what we'll try and convey today. Power of in-memory. Here's the typical flow, bottom up, that we are familiar with in the older world. And it's all about the data going up, ETL, into an application layer. It either goes into a data warehouse on which there are aggregates done. An application layer performs calculations and stuff at a level, and it queries the so-called the middleware layer, and that's where the problem is. That's where that's where the pain point comes from. And the previous slide that I showed was mainly to highlight that these big customers, that's where the story started. These big customers complain about not able to run their reports fast enough. The new dashboards that are being built are not fast enough. And you know, your month-end financial reporting takes days to complete. That's the pain point that was first addressed by HANA for these bigger customers, because now, as you see this stuff here, it's all in one box on one machine. Okay, what exactly is you know the key ingredient here? Again, a technical slide wherein, at a very high level, the application layer and the database layer have reversed their roles. Like we talked about earlier, applications wrote the logic, calculations were performed at the application layer, the database simply retrieved the data, and that's where the problem was. And it was almost impossible to fix this stuff on the fly. It took days to figure it out and fix that stuff. And that's probably the end pain point of most of the customers. With SAP HANA, the paradigm has reversed, and now everything that was so-called being positioned to be done at the application layer is now being done at the database layer. And pretty much you will see in the architecture of HANA and the applications that are being built on HANA, you know, all of the key calculations, aggregations, and stuff like that is done at the database layer. All right, this is a slide that I think if you know, try and understand this, that it pretty much encapsulates everything in one picture, and that is again, in the traditional scenario and in an SAP world, you had the SAP ERP system under which a traditional database sat. It'd pretty much be an Oracle database most of the time. And ETL kind of an activity would go on wherein you'll pull your data into an SAP BW kind of a system. And then there was an accelerator that sat on top of that to, let's say, accelerate things. And then there was a UI layer which kind of was the main way that this data was consumed. What is the underlying picture here? If you see that OLTP and OLAP kind of processing is moved to the database layer. All of that is now shrunk and compressed and moved to the so-called new DB. HANA's nickname was new DB before it was publicly announced, hence the name new DB here. So the SSD still determines that there is still a solid state underneath HANA, but everything is in memory, and that's the key message here, that both your OLAP and OLTP processing are now done in memory. Okay, very interesting slide here, which I will quickly show you. It's a picture that, again, Hasso puts it up on his opening keynotes most of the time. This is the presentation that is being used in several places. Let's start from the inner core. This is what makes HANA as a platform of choice. It's a picture that will give to you an idea that HANA at the core is still an RDBMS with all the ACID so-called features of a traditional database. With that, the key components here are the row store and the column store, which apparently makes it super fast. moving out of the inner core in a clockwise direction are the key components of HANA. And we'll quickly run through this. OLAP, OLTP, XS app server is nothing but the application server, which is the web server within HANA. So now if you want to build an HTML-based application, you can do that within HANA, and we'll see that in just a bit. Integration to R and for applications that are using predictive analytics. Several of our startups are in that space who use advanced analytical capabilities based applications, and R is the integration to R for that. Predictive analysis library and business function library are two pre-delivered libraries out of HANA, which basically means that, again, for predictive analytics based applications, you can simply reuse functions out of this library. And the business function library are a set of functions that are from SAP's last 30 years, 40 years of building business applications. They're all encapsulated in here. So for example, your application wants to do a currency conversion routine. You don't have to rewrite it. You simply pick it up from the business function library. Those kind of functions. So very much at a development level, for your application developer to quickly churn out an application, these are the components. On the outer layer, it's all about the consumption. And again, starting from the clockwise side, standard protocols like MDX, JDBC, ODBC are the standard protocols for consuming these services. OData and HTTP, REST, JSON, etc. For the SAP side of data, and we'll see that again in the next set of slides, we have things or tools called SSLT and DCX or DXC, which basically get data out of SAP systems and bring them into HANA. And SLT here is the real-time, is what is the so-called real-time tool. So why is it real-time? Because it is trigger-based. And that's the key difference between SLT and data services. SLT is trigger-based replication, so every time there's a change triggered at your core table in your application stack, it is identified, that data is replicated into HANA, and that's the real time. Everything else is either log-based or ETL-based. That's data services. So, and then on the other side, again, it is the BI. The Bob J. SAP acquired Bob J a few years ago. They have some very fancy tools. HANA supports all those tools. Another picture, for those who like the traditional stack architecture picture, it's the same thing. This slide is again for people who really want to understand the architecture and understand every engine that's available. This slide is for that. But again, the message here is that at the core, you have the HANA database, which has this persistency layer. It's an in-memory database, but it does has a persistency layer, just in case somebody pulls the plug, what happens to the data. And we'll see that in another slide. The layer on the top is the UI layer, Excel, dashboard, the whole BI universe, analysis explorer. On the left-hand side here is the SAP HANA Studio. We'll see a picture of it. That's your main entry point into HANA. It's an Eclipse-based tool. For all the developer folks in the room, that's the main interface. You go in there, you log in, and that's where you play with the content. It's like any ABAP editor. So basically, you build applications in HANA Studio. And then you have the integration part of it, where you replicate data from an SAP source and a non-SAP source via these services. Okay, just another similar set of slides. I'll skip that. Overall, this is what the so-called picture is about the platform's vision. Here, again, for you to take away is that at the core, we have HANA, and it's this part here, which is the custom apps that you might be interested in. You also might be interested in the part where it says Hadoop third-party database. So these are all the components that are now available within HANA to build the app that you want. Okay, we'll skip this. Key technical capabilities of HANA. This is really important just for you to get the message, what makes this thing faster, right? Is the concept of the row store, column store. We'll not get into the details of it because there's a whole book just on row store and column store. Parallelization and compression. We just put them there. Each of these are concepts that you are familiar with in the software engineering world. But to be very honest, this is the core. This is the core, like we saw on the first slide, where all this great big data that is available comes into HANA in either a row store or a column store format. You compress it, you parallelize it, and that's what makes it faster for the overlying application to use it. We have a few slides about the column and row store. Not sure if you're interested in seeing the way it... okay, we'll leave it at that. Again, very quickly, on the top, that's what a row store looks like the name suggests. A bunch of records arranged linearly. What does the column store look like? Just split the so-called columns of a row store and split them out. And at a very high level, that's what a column store is. So, like I said, we'll not get into the details. This is a whole technical section by itself. But the aggregation right there is what makes it super fast. Okay, parallelization and again the compression. If we had more time, we could have gone through a bunch of these slides, but let me just give you a picture here of another picture of what's the difference between row store and column store here. And attribute 2 and attribute 3 are the type of columns where you could run a query on, and that's just the data that will be retrieved. And just to give you a picture here, the same data in a row store and a column store, you can see the difference between in the table size. The number of records are the same. The table size, you can see that that's the compression. That's the key difference between when you store data in row store and column store. Okay. Persistency layer in SAP HANA. Important slide just from a technical perspective for you to keep in mind. Why does an in-memory database needs a persistency layer? What if somebody pulls the plug? So there is a whole concept of the RDBMS behind it, and it has it has all the ingredients that you need for backup and restore and things like that. Okay, very quickly, building SAP-based applications. With this slide is what is the message that you would want to take back, and this is the part now we are talking about with HANA as a platform. All you need to now know is with whatever idea that you have for your application or your startup does whatever applications, it all kind of fits into this box. There's a whole day session just to figure what this thing is and how you can use it. But you can build your HTTP-based applications, your HTML5-based applications within the so-called Access Engine, which I was saying was the web application server. And you have, with the standard protocols of JDBC, ODBC, and etc., you can build other applications, Java-based applications, to use HANA as a database and as an application platforms. I think we are running out of time. The whole idea here is to give you some basic concepts of HANA as a database and HANA as an application platform. And once you enroll into the program and you show more interest, hey, we want to build a POC, that's when folks like me come into play, and together we build a POC with you based on stuff like this. And hopefully we build a production-grade scenario that you can take to the market with our go-to-market team. So with that, I'll hand it back to Sophie. And
thank you, Mayank. Great. We're going to switch it up for the next portion here and actually call up some of the startups that were interested in pitching. And so do we have Repify in the room? Sharad? Ah, fantastic. So,
I'm the clock guy.
Just me?
Just so we're clear, because as much as we're going to do 2 minutes, and you only want to take the mic.
and then also we'll line up Appensure. Is Appensure here? Colin McNabb, please come on up.
Is this a SAP funded company or no?
No. These are actually TiE members or folks who were invited by TiE to come and do a pitch.
Great. Well, I'm glad I came. Otherwise, it would be kind of awkward. But so I work for a company called Repify. We're based in San Francisco in the financial district. We do social recruiting software. So we help companies. I'd say one of the most of our enterprise customers help find talent using this great stuff called the social web. So as you probably know, there's something like 1 billion profiles on Facebook. Some of them are real. Most of them are real. 200 something million on LinkedIn, a lot of profiles out there. And essentially what we do, this stuff is really good for us because we actually data mine profiles and resumes and things like that and help to find talent for companies who are looking to fill. Because finding talent isn't easy, it's expensive, and frankly, it can be much better than the processes today. We're really excited by stuff like this, primarily because being a startup 10 years ago, you have to go out and build a lot of stuff, and now you can use technologies like this to essentially cut your initial kind of spend and technology pieces a lot. So for example, in our own technology piece, I know we can cover that a little bit, we were able to use the cloud stacks and things like EC2, Amazon, AWS, and stuff like, before HANA stuff came around, but stuff like Hadoop and stuff like that to essentially take away a lot of the development time and focus on our core competency, which is what our engine does. So pretty excited to be here and awesome to be working with these guys.
Wow,
Am I okay?
That's fantastic. A big hand.
Okay, hi, Colin McNabb from Appensure. Pleased to say we're one of the TiE angel-funded companies. What we do is we ensure application performance for enterprise apps as they move into clouds and distributed hybrid environments. And what's different is we work for any application, no matter whether it's purchased, custom, or legacy. We work in any location, whether it's the cloud, whether it's private public cloud, virtualized data centers, or whether it's your own physical kit. And we work all the time. We see the entire data stream. And what we do is we sit beside the application, we monitor the entire transaction stream between the application and all of the infrastructure it touches, servers, storage, networks, and services. And from that, we build a database of it automatically. We discover all the applications, we present them to operations so they can see what apps are running, where they're running, what the response time is, and what is the throughput of their entire application space. And with that, we can then see the minute anything goes out of touch and we deviate from the performance, we can flag it immediately to operations, point exactly to where in the infrastructure the problem is, because we've been following and building the topology map for how the application talks to infrastructure. That way we can get the mean time to resolution collapsed down into a very short space of time and focus people directly at what to solve. And we have a very simple application. It doesn't require a lot of consultants. It's a one-click download that automatically builds the map of the topologies and the applications. And we keep all of that in a Splunk database so we can do real-time heuristic analysis on it and keep the database for as long as you want to have it, for as many days, weeks, months, years as you want to. And when we see the spikes and problems occur, we can then fingerprint those so we can start to become proactive. In future, when you see the same fingerprint of spikes occurring, we can then alert operations to say you're going to have an outage problem if you don't resolve this quickly. So today, we're based in the Citrix Accelerator just down the road, and they invested in us because when anything goes wrong in a Citrix virtual desktop delivery, they get the gun pointed at them. I think this happens also very often with SAP because of the encryption. We're very excited because we think HANA can give us access to the unencrypted data from the in-memory capability. That allows us to add it to the other things that we've got and give a very, very complete analysis in real time and proactively over the long time for operations. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tom. I'm from Multicore. We are a successful startup in business a little bit more than 3 years now, and we have a team of experts in parallel computing. So I've been talking to a couple people here about the massive trends in technology over recent years, shifts from desktop to web and mobile, and from traditional server-based type of enterprise applications to cluster-based applications. And most programmers are trained in how to develop more single-threaded applications, and when you need to run massively parallel applications, it takes a special set of expertise. Our experts have developed a tool called Parallel Path Analyzer. It allows you to instrument your application or your system and see where the bottlenecks are. Are the bottlenecks caused by memory, by I/O, by network, or are you CPU bound? And therefore you can quickly optimize a massively parallel application. That system runs on clusters up to 4,000 nodes. And so we have a combination of tools, libraries, and expertise to help companies make things go fast. So everything from Hadoop and other types of parallel applications to scientific and other big data applications. Any questions? Thank you.
I'm impressed. These people are great.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I'm here to introduce our online platform. It's called Talent Neuron. It is a global talent management and planning platform. What we do is we actually leverage the big data principles as well as the predictive analytics methodologies to help the enterprises to plan, build, as well as optimize their talent across the globe. So we have two modules. One is called the Talent Intelligence. What we do is we collect about 6 million unique data points about talent, cost, peer group footprint, that is company's footprint, as well as some of the location parameters, which are very important to understand where to set up the operations, how to set up the operations, how to hire the people, where to hire the people, and what kind of best practices other companies are having, as well as looking at some of the current trends. So we actually collect this data, we analyze this data, we do a lot of correlation of the data so that our clients can take the decisions through data-driven decision-making capabilities rather than perceptions. Our second module is called the Talent Analytics, which is like a predictive modeling platform where we collect the data from multiple HRIS sources, whether they are ERP systems or HR systems or the performance management systems, like some of the things that SAP owns. We collect it, we can do hypothesis validation on top of it, we can do predictive modeling, so our clients can optimize their employees as well as look at the kind of employees that they need to hire, and also look at how to manage those employees properly. So we've been around for about a year. We have about 20 Fortune 1000 clients and another 10 SMB clients, so growing fast. And this is the kind of technologies that we use. Currently we are on AWS for our big data systems and Azure for our front-end application. We are looking at multiple other systems which can actually give us the processing speed to crunch millions of data elements so that our clients can actually look at that and benchmark the data in real-time basis. So thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Shanti from Orzoda. We are a big data services company, unlike all of the previous speakers, I guess. So we try to help enterprises ramp up on big data technologies. As you have all heard, big data is fairly disruptive, new technologies, new vendors, new platforms, new products. And so we try and help customers with their strategy and architecture, help build proof of concepts for them, as well as do data analytics. So I'm sure that tons and tons of services companies, and you probably have heard of one cropping up every day. So we try to differentiate ourselves in a couple of different ways. First, we are very focused on strategy and thought leadership, really trying to help people understand what is the value that big data can bring to their business. Secondly, we've really built a team of very strong, skilled, experienced people. Our founders come from Yahoo, the birthplace of Hadoop, as you know, and we have a team from world-class companies, from Accenture, Netflix, Amazon, Sun Microsystems. That's the kind of team that we built. And then, if you think about it, right, so the building the big data platform is just one part of the puzzle. I'd say it's one side of the coin. So an enterprise gets started on it, it pulls the data from all these, you saw that slide on variety, volume, you pull all your variety of data sources into a big data platform, and then what, right? So the big, really promise of big data is in the predictive analytic capabilities. So that's the other side of the coin, which is data science or predictive analytics. So we are really focusing on that. We've built a very strong team of experts with data analytics with PhD backgrounds. That's what you're supposed to require for analytics, although I guess we can argue about that. And we with lots of experience. So we have experience in doing things like customer churn prediction and fraud detection and timer's up. And recommendation engines. So thank you for the opportunity to come here and do my 2-minute pitch.
Any questions? How would it be hand for all of the 2-minute pitch races?
Guys, as part of the story that you saw that this is HANA and what it can do, the question is, like most of these startups are asking, so where do we get started? And we have 2 colleagues from our SAP HANA 1 team. Guys, we're running short on time, do your best. But this is really, really important for everybody in the room to know how you could start building and using the HANA applications and using HANA products. So,
hey, thanks guys. I'll not take a lot of time. I've been to startup company before, my own, and participating. There are 3 things for your startup that are critical. First is getting the scalable architecture and highly compute enabled systems. That's HANA. For you to be successful, you need to get access to that HANA environment fast enough. If you go to traditional model, it's going to take several months for you to get to it. HANA 1 team, what we have done is that we have taken that problem from 3 months to 15 minutes. So these are some coupons for you guys here. This is about 120 minutes free for AWS by using HANA 1 in AWS for 1 day. So it's almost like a free for you. So you guys want to get to a productive version of HANA 1, this is available to you. We made it very easy. One of our key developers is going to give you a quick show of how to get to the HANA 1. So here is a quick demo.
Thank you. My name is Mudit with SAP. As Mandar said, I'm going to do a really quick demo, really high level. After that, if you have any questions, I will be very happy to speak with you. So as Mandar said, to get started, this is HANA 1 on Amazon Cloud. So naturally, we'll start with Amazon's Marketplace, which is their app store for different applications. So you can just go to aws.com, Marketplace, search for HANA 1. You get your product page, and click on the Continue button. And this is their startup page. From here, this is their one-click launch page. We set up really very, very simple options where, such as which version you want, where do you want to launch it, 3 geographical regions, and some other options such as security groups, firewall settings, and key pairs for root access. One thing I do want to point out though is the HANA instance that you get from our offering is a 60 gigabyte RAM machine right here. It's a fairly powerful machine. Let me see. All right. So, once you have made your selections to get started, you click on the Launch with One-Click button. And at the first time you're trying to do this, it will send you an email confirming your software subscription. What I've gone ahead and done is, since I don't want you waiting here while this is launching, once this process completes, takes about 2 to 3 minutes, it will launch you to Amazon's console. And here, for those who are familiar, have worked before with AWS infrastructure before, you manage all your AWS infrastructure from here. So I've launched some instances before. So once the instance comes up, the state is running, the status is 2 by 2 checks passed. You copy the IP address and you paste it in your browser bar, address bar, and you get to the setup page. From here, just for validation of who actually owns the account and you have access to launch it, we do validation on AWS keys, access keying, key IDs here. You enter your access key and key ID, you don't have to do anything. It goes to the back end, validates it. And once it's validated, we have our end user license agreement, which is, I encourage you to read it. It's a lot of fun. And then you set up your passwords for the console. This console, it's a very high-level admin console, and this password is what you will use to get back to it. What I'm going to do is not actually wait for you to wait for it to finish setting up. If I can, 1, 2, 3. There we go. So once you enter this password, from here you have 2 options. You can either SSH to the box to set up HANA manually, or HANA comes with 2 default user accounts, and we want you to change and set the passwords for them. So you can enter the passwords here. And if I'm going too fast, let me know, I'll slow down. I also have HANA Academy videos on it, so you can run through the process again. I just really don't want to take a whole bunch of your time here, just running through the stuff that the information you can get elsewhere. So once this process completes, this is a system that's been set up. This is your HANA dashboard, your HANA 1 instance dashboard. Some key KPIs that we present here, since HANA is in memory, we show how much memory is being used by the instance. CPU usage, if you want to know the system health, CPU usage, disk usage, memory usage are some key KPIs that you want to look at. We also have some HANA processes that we show right here and right here. So at one glance, you have a really good idea of how your system is doing. Some other functionality that we offer is on the admin tab, very basic, some system information. This instance is still in development, so things might change as we move ahead, but things to know: if you want to start your HANA instance, you can do that from here. If you want to restart HANA for whatever reason, you can do that here. You can reset your passwords, your console passwords, both of the HANA passwords. You can do that all from here, not even needing to SSH to the box, WinSCP, or whatever. If you want to back up your HANA database, which it's always a good idea to keep running backups. It's really easy to do. We can either just click on the backup button, enter the system HANA password. We automatically validate the password. It's validated. You just click on the Start HANA Backup button, and that is it. Really simple. And on the Downloads tab, we have some very basic programs available to you right from here. So as we were talking earlier, HANA Studio, which is used for data modeling, you can download it depending on what your client platform is like. We also have some client libraries available to you. So if you want to write an application, in Python, in Java, we have ODBC, JDBC bindings all in here. We have some demos available for you, MDX provider for SAP, and we also have a link to the communities page here. So the support for this HANA 1 is communities based, and so far we have answered every single question within 1 day, closed within 1 day.
Within 1 day, even better than that.
Yes, so really, really fast. If you have any questions, put it on here. And we'll get back to you.
So any feedback is appreciated. A couple of things I'll say. We are evolving at a very fast pace. We are running sprints of 3 to 4 weeks, and these things keep on changing. So it's very unlike SAP. Couple of things are coming in with some respect. The interesting part is that we are evolving so much. So we gave you an opportunity to get hold of HANA 1 very fast. One of the other things we are doing is that we have potentially large number of SAP HANA 1 customers today, commercial use. We are also trying to launch next iteration of HANA 1, where we are building a platform where you guys can develop cool applications, and we will give you a platform to launch it to our customers. So it's a platform we are building in. So we are evolving very fast. So keep on looking at HANA 1 in SAP Marketplace. And AWS Marketplace. You'll get good information. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. That's it.
Thank you so much. And, now that you've heard about the technology, I'd like to bring on board Robert, because he is the person who's going to help you go to market.
Great, thanks so much. Thanks so much for taking the time and realize there's a lot of talking, so I've been inspired by the 2-minute pitches to do 2 minutes. If they can do their whole company and business case in 2 minutes, I can do this in 2 minutes. So market enablement is essentially 3 items, and please ping myself and my colleague Deepak after this presentation to go into a deeper dive. But market enablement is basically 3 things. Market collateral, all the marketing collateral for you to be jointly branded with SAP. The events such as Sapphire, where we bring our closest, dearest 15,000 customers to a giant conference center that's the size of a couple of airport hangars to talk about roadmaps and C-level meetings. A really great meeting. I'm not sure if you've been to Sapphire before, but it's this fantastic customer event. And then pipeline and customer opportunities. So in a nutshell, these 3 elements go into you reaping the return on investment. So after building on HANA, we really want you to be successful. And this is one of the key, if anything you remember from my really short little chat here, the one thing I really want to drill home and really emphasize is we're not asking for money up front. This is not like a pay-to-play. We want you to be successful on HANA because our customers are making the investment on HANA. You're building on HANA. We want you to be successful in selling your solution because it's leveraging that platform. So we're really helping the startups to sell their solutions, and then HANA will be pulled with that. So there's 2 main mechanisms that happens. We're doing 4-legged sales calls where you basically work with the SAP field. We're working on deals together, and we go into accounts and talk about their use cases, their plans for HANA. A very large semiconductor manufacturer has prioritized one of our startups as their top 3 use cases for the next 5 years. And so if there's any sense of, us little people in this little room doing little startup things, that's the scale that we can accomplish together, is that massive companies will look at the startup solutions and say, this is really cutting edge. There's nothing else like this in the marketplace. This is what we want to do. The other option is obviously to OEM HANA. So you get HANA licensed and then you build it into your solution, and it's part and parcel of your solution. So let's give one example, just again to keep it really short. Liquid Analytics, they only started building on HANA a couple months ago. They have now landed a couple of POCs that will be maturing into customer deals, and they're basically off and running, and they're already recovering on the investment in person hours in HANA by massive 10-fold, 100-fold. What the solution does is basically for in the wholesale distribution segment, when salespeople go into their accounts, they're using massive, big data dumps from CRM, from inventory, from historic patterns of recent weeks, months, seasonal affects, to bring it all together to pre-populate orders, so that instead of going in and talking about how much they used, what inventory replenishment is, how much they need to replenish inventory, they already have a model. They say, this is our recommendation on what you should order, and then they're able to use that time to talk about other value-added services and other topics that are of more interest and greater value. So it's a great use case, and there's a couple other examples I'm happy to talk with you after the formal presentations. But thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we love going to market with the startups. They bring a ton of energy, and they're doing really innovative stuff on top of our HANA platform that our customers are loving.
Thanks, Robert. So we've actually gone through quite a lot, and I just wanted to wrap it up. Thank you. Wrap it up, and just as a recap, the startup journey really starts here, and wanted to share with you some of the major milestones as a recap. So we've got the next step as far as hearing about your solution description on HANA, then developing a proof of concept that would essentially unlock a whole series of premium benefits, technical as well as business offerings. Then deliver a production-ready application on the SAP HANA platform. And this is where, as you've just heard Robert mention, the commercialization and going to market capabilities are also kicked in. So we'll make these slides also available to participants so that you'll have a chance to read through the program benefits in a little bit more detail. So very next step, three things I would like you to consider. First of all is on the tables that you have here, you've seen a couple of small business cards. Grab one of those, and the back of it is the email address, a URL link. Go through that particular link, then click on the first box that's going to say Get Started. That's really how you get started with the program, letting us know about you. Then the next step is that as part of this, this TiE event this evening, you will be invited to join the learning portal. This is where a lot of the, like I said, technical resources, next steps from technical perspectives will be laid out, and you'll have a chance to explore that. And of course, the third major step is, as I mentioned next, in order to be fully admitted into the SAP Startup Focus program, we'll want to take a look at your SAP HANA solution description. So it's not meant to be this 10, 15 page thesis, but rather a description of how you see SAP being a good fit, SAP HANA being a good fit for your solution. Okay. We also welcome you to share this information with other folks that you might know within the big data, predictive analytics space. Let us know who they are. We'd love to talk to them. And that actually concludes the portion. Are there any questions? Yes, please.
Yes, hi. Thank you for a great presentation. I have a two-part question. If as a startup, I develop a solution or an application on the SAP platform, do I own exclusive IP ownership? Do I have exclusive IP ownership of that, or is it joint? Second part, what's the business model, right? If I'm going to market on a HANA platform to a customer and selling a solution, would we do a revenue share, or is it like Apple's ecosystem, or how is it?
Great. Okay, first answer to your question is we will not want to get into your IP. This is your intellectual property. In fact, our solution architects, such as Mayank here, have been instructed very clearly not to go down that particular path. And then...
We have many deals right now where the startups are selling their startup solution and SAP is selling HANA, and there's no rev share or anything taken. Basically, SAP is selling HANA with other SAP solutions. The startup is selling their startup solution, and that's it. It's very clean. If you do want to OEM HANA so that you pay for the combined solution, then there is a rev share option. That's a 15% rev share. Or you can just buy 1 unit of HANA or a couple units of HANA. So we can talk more detail after. Thanks.
You just mentioned a couple of startups here, how they're using HANA. So do you have like a list of startups and people can go through the application and see what is useful for them?
Yes, so there's a couple of areas where we've started showcasing these startups, especially the ones that have more of a SaaS model, and you can find them on the marketplace. If you actually leave your business card, we can send you some of that information too. And I know that Robert's team is, as you've heard him talk about, a lot of effort is going into showcasing the startup solutions, their stories, their successes within the SAP ecosystem, to the customer base, to our field sales organizations, to industry principals, and that's actually something very valuable because they're the ones who are closest to the customer and would be able to see where there might be a fit and need for the kind of solutions you're developing and creating. Of course.
The other thing you've got, and this is really actually kind of cool, you saw a couple of use cases. We didn't go through them. Every startup is given the opportunity and encouraged to submit a use case. It's not required. Absolutely not. But if they do submit that use case, I hesitate to tell you how many times I have sent out use cases to the field that have requested, do you have a use case on this? Do you have a startup doing this? But along with that, if you go to saphana.com, and then there are a use case repository there, I forget the name of the exact link, but there's a use case repository there where customers can go and actually do searches for solutions, then they can engage from there. So it's a couple of different places, pretty dynamic.
Thank you, Ron. Any other questions? Line 1, Twice? Great. Well, thank you so much. So, thank you everyone for being here, and we look forward to collaborating with you.